The 2022 Corruption Perception Index (CPI) shows that most countries are performing dismally in curbing corruption. The CPI ranks 180 countries and territories around the world by the perceived levels of public sector corruption, scoring on a scale of 0 as highly corrupt to 100 as very clean. The global average remains unchanged for over a decade at just 43 out of 100. More than two-thirds of countries scored below 50, with 26 countries falling to their lowest score. Despite concerted efforts and hard-won gains by some, 155 countries have made no significant progress against corruption or have declined since 2012.
And for 2022, they have used 13 data sources from 12 reputable institutions to come up with the index that was released today.
According to the report, Kenya obtained a score of 32 out of 100, a slight improvement from a score of 30 points in 2021, and is ranked position 123 out of 180 countries and territories assessed. Kenya's score of 32 points matched the sub-Saharan average score of 32, but fell below the global average score of 43, where a score below 50 indicates serious levels of public sector corruption.
Kenya's slight improvement over the years can be attributed to a sustained effort in developing policies, laws, and institutions towards the implementation of the Constitution promulgated in 2010, specifically looking at the accountability-focused provisions.
Rwanda tops the East African region with 51 points compared to 53 points in 2021. Tanzania scored 38 from 39. Uganda has 26 from 27 and Burundi has 17 from 19 in 2021 in curbing corruption. South Sudan was ranked last both regionally and globally, scoring 13 points from 11 points in 2021. Countries that scored above the global average from African region included Seychelles with 70 points, Botswana with 60 points, and Cape Verde with 60 points. The Kenya Kwanza coalition in its manifesto promised to end the weaponization and politicization of anti-corruption efforts by allowing the relevant institutions to freely exercise the independence given to them by the Constitution.
Kenya Kwanza, our strategy on fighting corruption is in depoliticizing and removing the weaponization of our criminal justice system, and instead building those institutions, the capacity of those institutions, whether it is the DCI, whether it's the EACC, whether it's the entire police force. We want them to have an independent budget.
Denmark, Finland, and New Zealand topped the index with 90 points, 87 and 87 points respectively, while South Sudan, Syria, and Somalia fell at the bottom with scores of 13, 13, and 12 respectively. More than two-thirds of countries scored below 50 out of 100. Taruz is a Kenyan living in Finland. He explains why Finland has successfully reduced corruption.
Leadership in general insist on integrity. Integrity systems are more effective in Finland. This starts from school.
In the report, the government has not yet lived up to its billing in the fight against corruption. The current regime has in several instances been accused of disregarding the leadership and integrity standards set out in Chapter 6 of the Constitution of 2010 by appointing into public office individuals who are under investigations or are being charged with criminal cases, economic crimes and corruption, and even others who have been adversely named in parliamentary reports, commissions of inquiries, among other competent public fact-finding institutions, thus raising questions on its commitment to address corruption.
We've seen high level of assault on Chapter 6. We've basically sent Chapter 6 to Coventry because a lot of the appointments that have been made in the last few months, and even when you look at the elections and people who got into the different levels of elective office, there are many who did not meet the requirements or the standards of Chapter 6 of the Constitution. And for us, the first starting point in regard to strengthening the fight against corruption is ensuring that you have people who really meet the basic tenets of the constitutional provisions on leadership and integrity.
For Ebru TV, Amode Francis.